Oh, it's Mr. McFeely.
I have seen the future, and he was wearing number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimsley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Let's do some broadcasting.
You know, I saw you for like a week straight, but we haven't done this segment in forever because of the holidays and whatnot, so it's good to see you. How you been?
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Everything is fine.
Not fine for the Minnesota football professional franchise last night.
When is it ever fine for the Minnesota professional football franchise? I'm 58 years old.
Yep.
And they haven't been to a Super Bowl since 1977 after the 76 season. So when has it ever been fine?
I watched
was the victory, or I'm sorry, the victory. Pardon me. That's a terrible Freudian slip. Was the beatdown last night worse than the beatdown in Philadelphia that you and I
we were there.
attended? Because I
don't think so. I think the amount of emotion attached to that, and the Super Bowl was at stake. It was in Minnesota.
Man, last night was
not good.
The Vikings looked like they were playing in cement, and the Rams were playing at hyperspeed. I mean, our guy Jared Verse,
right?
It's like somebody could try to block him. I mean, somebody could make an effort.
Nope.
Having to run by you isn't. I mean, wow. The Rams looked just absolutely supercharged last night, and the Vikings looked slow and just out of sync. And everything's been beaten to death already because that's the world we live in. But like late third quarter, the Vikings are just giving up already.
You tweeted that out. I'm like, you're right.
It was the strangest thing. And I'm trying to roll my 120 or whatever that. It was just awful in bowling last night. As I tweeted out last night, I'm the Sam Darnold of our bowling team because I started off looking really good this year. Like everybody's going, wow, what a great pickup. And now last night they're going, yeah, you going to be busy next week?
If you have anything else going on.
We have JJ, McCarty is our next bowler back over there.
But
were you not trying to win the game?
It seemed like it was they capitulated with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Yes. I mean, just unbelievable. Yeah. It's just like, what are we doing here? I don't know what we're doing here.
The obvious question, and we have to ask it, though, is on the quarterback position because it's the quarterback position.
Gone.
Is it?
He's gone.
Dunzo?
Yes. I mean, come on. They're not going to pay Sam Darnold anything more than if they can get him for $7.36 and
they're not going to get him
and
for
a
that.
6-pack of Starry, then that's fine.
Starry's good.
They're not going to.
Were you of that mindset prior to the Lions game?
I thought they were going to be forced to bring him back.
Yeah.
Darnold was fine. I mean, water always finds its level, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it always finds its level, especially in the NFL. And so you just kind of, the whole season I thought was like, well, okay, he's fine. But there was indications during the season. He had that little dip, and everybody's going, well, okay. And then he kind of rallied.
Right, the last 5 games. Yep.
And then the celebration after the Packers game.
Right.
The last 2 weeks were like last night, what?
I don't know.
I know he was under tremendous pressure.
Right. The Vikings offensive line is not going to get unscathed in this.
So let's start there that he was under tremendous pressure, but throw the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, just throw the ball.
Throw it away.
Yep. I don't care. Throw an interception. When it's 3rd and 5 or whatever, 3rd and 8, what are you taking a sack for?
Correct.
Just throw it.
Yep.
Throw the ball.
Just can't do it
See the lady in the 3rd row over there? Just knock the beer out of her hand. Just throw it. What are you doing?
Yep. Correct.
I mean, and he had time to do that.
To get rid of it,
To get rid of the ball.
Yes.
I mean, and we, like 6 seconds, it's like, what do you, like, nobody's open, okay, but.
Got it.
You can't take the sack.
Stop eating it, right?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't take a sack when it's 3rd and 8. You're literally better off throwing an interception.
Yeah.
I mean, because at least there's a chance of something happening.
The part that got me, and I know you were otherwise busy last night, but the end of the first half play call where they said to go for it there,
that was odd.
It was terrible, honestly. I'll say it was bad. I don't get that decision.
Brett Vegan level, like, why are you going for it there? Like, if you're not going to go for it earlier, why are you going for it there?
Right.
If you're going to kick the field goal earlier, why? I mean, what are you going for it at that point of time? And
just a total panic move.
Just get to the second half down as little as you can be, and hopefully
And you're getting the ball to start the second half.
The Vikings were getting the ball, so just get to the locker room and just kind of try to set things.
Right. At 17-3, it's not.
It's still a ball game.
It's manageable there.
Yeah.
At 24-3, it's donezo.
Done.
Right.
That was the game. The touchdown at the end of the half was the game, and then it just and that I took for what it's worth, I took a lot of heat last week when we were down in Frisco watching the Vikings game, and I tweeted out because everybody was all over Darnold last week, as they should have been.
Yeah.
But O'Connell was not great last week.
No.
And O'Connell was not great last night.
No, KOC did not have his two best games at all, play calling wise.
Not at all.
No, that was odd play calling there. So
I mean, the Rams are, and what do I know? I'm sitting in a bowling alley, but so if the Rams, if you can't block them, should you be doing 5 and 7 step drops and having them hold the ball for 5 seconds? I mean, I'm no great offensive mind. I'm no Randy Hedberg here. But
it's like they were running wild, though. There's nobody to block them, at all.
Right. I mean, can you run a slant? Can you do something?
Right. Screen pass?
They clearly are I'm not sure I would do a screen because they're so much faster. But maybe that's but again, it just, the last 2 games were just like, whoa, wow.
Our guy Jared Verse ended up being okay, huh?
Yeah, he was fine. Again, he was
pretty good.
You're watching him, and who's the guy next to? I can't think of his name. But it's like every play is like, wow, they can't block these guys. Not even close.
No, how the fact he ended up at Albany and not at Florida State originally is another one of those great recruiting stories.
FCS,
I know.
Though. How did Marquise Grace end up in Vermilion?
Yeah, of all
places.
I know.
And they were good. I mean, Bob, no disrespect to Bob Nielsen, because they were really good the last 2 years, but nobody else saw the kid. Like the University of Cincinnati,
right?
Didn't see
your
the kid.
Hometown, right?
He's from Cincinnati. You couldn't have used that kid on your team.
That's the Big 12 school. He could have played there. Pretty sure about that.
Yep, pretty sure.
So you're on board with being JJ's team next year, then?
Yeah,
JJ
just move
McCarthy.
on. It has to be.
Yeah.
Now you got to roll with it.
Right.
And the Vikings are going to lose a ton of guys in free agency.
Yeah,
and
we were talking about that earlier.
They're going to have a ton of salary cap room as well, but I don't know that that the Vikings have drafted well.
They have not.
During this regime. They did well in the free agent market this offseason. They're going to lose some guys this offseason.
Yep.
But it's turn the page. Darnold had a shot that looked good for 16 games, whatever, and then it just all fell apart.
Yeah, it's hard the shadow of the last 2 games just blots out everything else.
Yes.
Yep. It's not fair, but that's how.
But it's reality, though. It's reality.
Correct.
I mean, what you saw last night and what you saw in Detroit was that at the end of a long season, that's what the Vikings were.
And imagine if they somehow won the game. Philadelphia's defense is better than the Rams. That would have been bloodletting. I mean, we've been to a bloodletting in Philadelphia.
And that's the interesting thing about this Vikings season is 14-3, even with the disaster in Detroit. 14-3, and their path to the Super Bowl was all but impossible.
Correct.
I mean, all but impossible to get to the Super Bowl with what they had to do. And so that's
Rams, Eagles, Lions likely it would have been all on the road.
I mean, good luck. 14-3. So maybe things worked out.
Like you mentioned,
if they would have somehow beat Detroit and got 2 home games, then you go, okay, maybe. But wow, the way things worked out was there was zero chance. Zero.
The other big talker obviously centers around when we Bison football all the time, but as we sit here this morning, I know you've been reporting on it, as have I, that the Bison have amazingly unscathed through the transfer portal here.
Yeah.
After the national championship win over Montana State, Bryce Lance made it pretty public on Friday that he was going to return, which is a huge deal, which I want to get to our next segment. But just the fact, Mike, that nobody went in was odd, no?
To me, I mean, you thought maybe they're going to lose a top-notch guy or two, and you go, okay, that's going to happen.
Yep.
But for sure, there's going to be some guys fourth on the depth chart there that were going to say, you know what, I'm going to go play somewhere else. Or maybe the coaching staff was going to say to guys, hey, you know what, you're not going to play here. So maybe
path to the field is blocked.
Right. Yep. I mean, you're a junior and there's 5 guys ahead of you or 4 guys ahead of you. So we're just being straight up honest with you. You're not going to play at NDSU. And then guys make decisions to go play someplace else. Happens at every school, at every level. But, I mean, none of those guys.
No.
I mean, like nobody.
Yeah. Yes.
And maybe that's the new world of college football because
I want to ask you about that. Yeah.
Because isn't there like 4,000 guys in the
Correct.
transfer portal?
And with the roster limits coming
and
down,
with the
to
roster
105,
limits coming up, there's going to be 20 guys off every FBS team that are going to be floating around out there. And how good those guys are, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, if you're South Dakota State right now, and you're that fan base, or you're the South Dakota media, and you're thinking that there's going to be guys, the 20th guy on the Kansas roster is going to like vault you to Frisco or Nashville, I guess. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Yeah. I think you have to find other players out there, not maybe the 20th guy being cut from Kansas or Iowa State. I don't know how good those guys are.
Right.
Yeah. So you combine those things. Plus, I mean, there's a history here at North Dakota State of guys leaving and not really going where they thought they were going to be able to go.
Correct.
I mean, again, so much emphasis a couple of years ago on NDSU's falling apart.
Yes.
Ah! Funny how we haven't heard that from Grand Forks or Brookings the last couple of years.
Nope.
But one of those guys I think went on to a power school, and that was Marquise Siegel, and he was really, really good.
Really good.
The other guys ended up at G5s or not playing football ever again.
Yep.
And Dom Jones had a nice career at Colorado State.
We went through a couple of them.
That's fine. I mean, whatever you're looking for. Courtney Eubanks ended up.
He's a 2-year starter.
He was a walk-on at Coastal Carolina. Maybe he got some money.
Josh Hayes probably worked out okay, but he went to schools.
That was 2 years ago. That was during the pandemic thing. I'm talking about just that couple of years ago.
Tony Pierce,
Kobe
Johnson.
Kobe got hurt and whatever. I mean, just.
You mentioned Dom Jones. DJ Hart never played again. Eli Green, as obviously right now.
Yep. And that was a different situation, but it's so there's been guys that have moved on that have done okay, but I would hope that you would learn that unless you have something lined up, which of course is completely illegal and not allowed under NCAA rules.
No tampering at all.
That you can, the other schools cannot contact you or offer you while you're, enrolled on another team. That never happens, by the way. But unless you have something lined up, or you just said, you know what, I just want to get out of here for personal reasons, or you want to get closer to home, or your brother plays somewhere else, or whatever the reason. I don't know. Unless you have Iowa or Iowa State that's saying, if you come here, you will get a scholarship and you will be a top 200 depth chart, then I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go.
Yeah. Let's break. We come back.
Especially if you have a scholarship.
Right, exactly. I mean, we're bailing on that.
And if I'm dad and Junior McFeely is playing for NDSU or UND or South Dakota State or USD
and on scholarship,
and they're going, God, Dad, I want to. It's like, Junior, if you're 5th string at NDSU right now, you're probably not good enough to play. Okay, so why don't you sit where you are, get your college degree, and I'm not paying for your education. So, just
unless you got it lined up somewhere else.
Unless you have it lined up somebody
else is going to do that for you.
Right? Then stay where you are.
Let's break because we'll talk about the guy that was going to get paid wherever he wanted to go with Bryce Lance's return, and a couple emails coming in as well. We'll get to that. We wrap up hour 1. Back more with Mike right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour back here with more with Mike McFeely. Apparently, the hot rumor this morning is your guy Deion Sanders might be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Good.
What do you make of that?
That's great. Good for him.
Deion going back to a place where he starred in the NFL.
After covering that Colorado game and being out in Boulder and actually being in his press conference and all that stuff and, the circus. I mean, the bottom line is, whatever you think of Deion, whatever you think of him, and there is a large number of people who don't like him, and there are various reasons why. And one of them is obvious and whatever. But he took them from a 1-11 team to was it 9-3?
They won 9 games. Yep.
I mean, so what? I mean, what's the argument here?
Right.
If anybody else does that, the guy's like coach of the year. Oh my God. I mean, it's regularly happens where a guy turns a team from, a nothing school into a 9-3 decent bowl team.
Yep.
And the guy's like being lauded nationally as the greatest thing since sliced bread. Deion does it with his own style, with his own roadmap. And it's like, well, I wonder why that could be.
Yeah.
First of all, what's different about Deion Sanders than other coaches? Oh, but anyway, I mean, like, give the guy credit. The rules of college football
are completely out. Yeah.
There's no rules anymore.
That's exactly it.
From 5 years ago, it's all different. And so he leveraged
absolutely
what he could do. And by the way, it's not like he's an idiot when it comes to football. I think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Yep.
But he leveraged what his strengths, which is the NFL contacts, and let's bring in, Warren Sapp and all these. Okay. And the offensive coordinator.
Pat Shurmur.
Okay. So anybody else brings in NFL coordinators, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Bill Belichick, a 402-year-old fossil, goes from, and by the way, how are the Patriots without Brady?
Yeah.
When Belichick was the coach, the Patriots sucked. Completely sucked.
Yeah, they were not good. Nope.
And he completely burned every bridge in the NFL so that he's taking a North Carolina job.
Yep.
And that's like, whoa, cutting edge. Deion wins 9 games. That's like, he's terrible. And so now he's going to go to the NFL, and now it's like, whoa, what a stupid. Why?
No.
Why is it a stupid move?
I love that idea if they
Good
do
for
it.
him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for him. And by the way, I mean, it was 25 minutes of my life, but being in Deion's press conference after the game, it was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he has his own style, but when you asked him a question, when anybody asked him a question, he answered. You might not like the answer, but he answered the question. He was incredibly respectful at that point in time.
Yep.
There was some disruption because there's so many hangers-on and so many wannabes. And Deion stopped the press conference and said, "Everything okay? Everything okay? We okay? Because we're doing something here." And he wasn't a jerk. He just and then got things settled down and then went back to doing his thing. It was fine.
He also lauded Cam Miller after that game as well.
Yes.
He was pretty prescient about that, what he said that night in Boulder.
But it's like it's fine. It's whatever.
One other thing here before we go, and we talked about the portal stuff earlier. I asked Kolpak yesterday on a scale of 1 to 10, ask him the surprise level on Bryce Lance coming back. I think we both were, when we left, we were talking as we left Toyota Stadium last Monday. I'm like, if this is it, boy, heck of a year. He's gonna the offers are gonna be out there. He's decided that he's gonna come back though and play his last season at NDSU.
And I think there's certainly the collective played a role in this. I mean, and maybe a major role. I don't know that. I'm making an assumption or an informed.
That's a strong opinion. I can tell you that.
An informed guess. But there's also other things at play here, right? I mean, I think that Carlton and Angie Lance are incredibly level-headed, super intelligent people who have the best for their child in mind and what would be best for him, while making him letting him make his own decision. Yep. I mean, we all know as parents there are ways to, just sort of influence and make things go a certain direction. And I don't know that Carlton and Angie did that, but I just know that getting to know them a little bit through the Trey Lance era, that I mean, they're not
No.
stars in the clouds people. They're like, this is the situation.
Pretty level-headed there.
And there's a legacy there. I mean, North Dakota State is where Trey went. As you pointed out in your great story that was posted at Inform yesterday and still there, burning things up on the web, there was some hurt when Trey left because of the Neal thing, but the Lances worked through that and still have a deep affinity and affection for North Dakota State.
And Fargo.
And I think all of that played into it. And part of it had to be, too, it's like, it's been proven 100 times. You can go from here to anywhere you want to go. You don't have to be at LSU to, in the Jabril Cox case. You don't have to be at wherever to go to the National Football League. You can be here. It's just, how you get there from here.
Christian Watson ended up being a second-round draft pick.
Yeah, I mean,
NDSU.
His brother was the third pick overall from Fargo.
Yep.
Carson Wentz was the second pick overall from Fargo.
Yep.
Easton Stick was the fifth round draft choice from Fargo. Dylan Radins, Cody Mauk, all those guys.
Down the list.
Joe Haig. They were all drafted from Fargo. So you don't have to go someplace else. The only question was how many zeros were out there for Bryce Lance? And that, I'm sure, was a difficult conversation. And, I mean, it's hard to
say no to that.
It's hard to say no to that for anybody. And you couldn't blame him if he said yes to it.
Nope.
There should have been no hard feelings.
No.
If Bryce Lance said,
thanks. Yep.
And take into account as well the fact that he didn't play his first couple of years here. And that apparently was a thing that was discussed in the offseason, according to your story, that the Lance family talked about that. Like, okay, what do you want to do here? Because you're not playing.
Yeah, Angie said that to me. That was the biggest wow thing to her, is she didn't know it was going to happen here. That was about, obviously, the kind of year he had. So it was good. It was, in this day and age, you're just not used to guys staying. So that's the surprising part
credit
to me.
to North Dakota State. And look, let's be honest here. There's a lot of chatter, and we've, been in the middle of this as well, reporting what we can report in terms of, but if Jimmy Rogers wouldn't have left Brookings, there would have been one or two, Griffin Wilde probably would have left. Gronowski probably would have left.
Yep.
And other than that, maybe Bernston, because he'd been there for 5 years and wanted to go play at Northwestern.
The rest of those guys,
the rest of the guys wouldn't have left.
Nope.
So the good FCS schools can keep most of their players.
Yep. Which is a nice sign because, granted, we already know the same three teams are going to be back in the mix next year. We got to roll. Thanks for coming by. We'll talk to you next week. Mike McFeely joining us each and every Tuesday at 9:30. We'll break. We come back. Neat interview I got with the guy who's trying to guide Cam Miller to the NFL draft. You'll meet him when we start hour 2 of Hot Mike right after this.